differentiation between?
Okay, first of all the schools, okay, the last part of the question is the easiest to answer. All the schools treat SAT and ACT exactly equally. So absolutely no discrimination whatsoever. That means if your ACT is 36, if your SAT is 23 and 60 to 2400, they're going to be exactly the same. Exactly the same. So no discrimination. That means no focus. I wouldn't say like Stanford focus on SAT, not on ACT, no. Or Stanford focus on ACT, not on SAT, no. Definitely not. Exactly the same. Okay, the early part of the question, I wasn't totally sure about exactly the question, but I'll try to answer as I understand your question. So, should kids take ACT or SAT? Okay, SAT, as of now, the current SAT and ACT, their difference, several major differences. But they are, in final analysis, the difference is not that big. The major difference is SAT, current SAT has sentence completion. Okay, sentence completion. Sentence completion involves a lot of vocabulary. ACT does not have that part. So ACT does not have sentence completion. I wouldn't say ACT does not require vocabulary, because the reading part is still a lot of vocabulary, but it doesn't directly examine vocabulary. Now, another major difference is ACT has the science part, and SAT doesn't have, right? ACT has a science, SAT doesn't have. So those are the major two parts, actually. Then if you go into detail, ACT requires a lot more faster reading. So speed reading is very important for ACT, because 35 minutes, you have to read 4 long passages and answer 40 questions. But SAT doesn't require that. SAT has 25 minutes, 16 reading questions. The rest would be multiple choice. You can finish like 2 seconds a question. So you can save a lot of time in SAT's multiple choice for the long reading. So ACT, so it's really hard to say, which student should take. We compiled, a test for the student to take. If you, for example, the test is 20 questions. It's exactly taken from SAT, ACT, so it's like their features. Then if you have a lot of answer on the ACT part, then we say you're more likely to do ACT better. If you do SAT better, you answer certain questions, right? Chances are, the difference, we tried so much to distinguish the students, it doesn't distinguish much. That means if you are, it doesn't difference too much. Yeah, that means if you take SAT, you can score certain level, your SAT would be in that level. So it's not going to make too much difference in level. So if you really have a particular student, you want to take the test, we have a 20-question test, and take the test, we say, if you answer A-type questions more, then you are supposed to do SAT. If you answer B types of question more, then you're supposed to do ACT. But it's not very finely distinguishable, because they are fundamentally they're similar. Fundamentally, they are examining your speed of reading, your understanding of reading, your grammatical rules. ACT, I would say, emphasize punctuation a lot. Punctuation, literally comma, just the comma alone. In ACT, I would say about 40 questions, not 40, out of 40 questions, about 10 questions, just on the comma issue. Do you know what is a comma supplies? Do you know, do you know when to use comma? Do you know how to break a sentence? Things like that in ACT a lot, but in SAT, no. Yeah, so it's really hard to say, of course, the best way is to do both. I mean, if you have the time and resources, you try both to see which one is score higher. Then you submit whichever one for college application.